tonight. James Carvelle, veteran Democratic strategist who rose to national fame with the Clinton presidential campaign, these days co-host of the Politics War Room podcast. And Mike Murphy, veteran Republican strategist and strategic advisor to Republican voters against Trump, also happens to co-host the Hacks on Tap podcast. Gentlemen, good evening to you both. Mike, let's talk about Ted Cruz. Where Trump is concerned, he put the sick in sycophant. What responsibility does he bear, and what stock would you put in his career right about now?
Well, he and Senator Hawley own a lot of this. They were the deputy dogs here to Donald Trump. I think they both made a very cynical calculation, which is not new to either of them, that this would somehow put him on the fast track to the 2024 Republican nomination. I think they way overplayed their hands. I think they own this. And I think the will column is right. We now know exactly who they are, and I predict in the long term, even within the Republican world, it's going to hurt them badly.
James, I saved the topic of Josh Hawley just for you. Let's spend a moment to discuss the senator from Missouri. I noted Jack Danforth, the dean of all living Missouri senators, said today that he regards his work to get Hawley elected as the biggest mistake he has made in his life. Hawley will now, to his great consternation, forever be branded with that photo from yesterday, right before the invasion of the Capitol building, of the somewhat fascistic raised clenched fist as he looked over to the Trump supporters who were by then thundering their way to the U.S. Capitol. Also, something that sharp-eyed viewers noted from last night. Senators get up in the well of the Senate. They clip on a microphone. They often walk around, gesticulate, look at notes. But when it's their time for the 5-minute address, 5-minute remarks, they talk. Hawley is among the very few who seeks out the camera across the chamber and talks to that camera like every day is a chance for yet another Josh Hawley commercial. His publisher canceled his plans for a new book today. Where do you put the career and hopes of the very calculated Mr. Hawley of Missouri?
Well, that guy is one of the better educated people in the United States government. And no one ever
Stanford and Yale Law School.
Yeah, I mean, he's really a well-educated human being. He never learned how to curb any visual thing of his ambitions. When you see him, he just reeks of ambition. And, Senator Danforth is probably one of the more respected retired Republicans out there anywhere. I mean, he was behind Clarence Thomas being on the Supreme Court. And he just doesn't come across. I just don't see him as having any skill to get beyond. Now, he may be able to win re-election in Missouri, but I don't think he's going to play in Peoria or anything like that. I really don't. His ambition is craven. And Tom Cotton, who's also an uber-educated guy, he let the ball come to him, and he probably helped himself a little bit. Senator Cruz is another highly, highly educated man. I don't know how these people end up where they are. One of these days, Senator Kennedy from Louisiana, one day somebody can explain that to me. They're out there,
man. Senator Cruz, I'm reminded, has exactly the same... I was going to say, he has the exact same education... He has the same education as Michelle Obama, Senator Cruz does, Princeton undergrad, Harvard Law School. Talk about two people who, as adults, have chosen to do different things with the brains God gave them. Mike, what does it mean for Donald Trump if he has lost the editorial board of Rupert Murdoch's Wall Street Journal?
Well, it's not the end of Donald Trump, but the spell... The hypnotic grip of fear on the elected class of the Republican Party is definitely a lot weaker. This thing was a tipping point. It really shook, I think, particularly in the Senate, but it shook the caucuses. I mean, they had the nightmarish experience of actually meeting the very worst of the hardcore supporters of Donald Trump as they came crashing into the Capitol in a way we haven't seen since 1814 when the British Army the Redcoats tried to burn it down. So this is shaking people. And we can't underestimate, remember, on this day of this attack, they were reeling from losing control of the Senate in Georgia, a race that 3 weeks ago they all thought they were going to win. So they wake up, Trump has wiped them out in the Senate, he's already wiped them out in the House, and he's lost the Oval. So there's very little reason politically to think that Donald Trump, if you're a Republican elected who's been cowering from him, is anything but anthrax politically. You just worry about your primary. But I think there's a massive exhaustion. It'll go on because cynics like Hawley and Cruz will kind of put on a red fright wig, Trump, and go maneuver in the primaries. And we're going to have to wait and see. But I think it's really hit a half-life, even out there. And remember, the wider Republican primary electorate is not exactly the people in the Uncle Sam suits and Viking hats that were like trying to bash furniture in Nancy Pelosi's office. Those are thugs and criminals. I hope the FBI rounds them all up. There's plenty of Trump support in the primary, but again, I think it's ebbing, and I think this was a tipping point because Trump equals disaster and losing. We will see. We're going to have that fight as we lead up to the 2022 congressional primaries, where we have a shot to take back the House, but we're going to have a big fight internally about what kind of party we're going to be.
Let's be fair, it was more than a Viking hat. It was kind of a shirtless Chewbacca mankini, but more on that after this. Mr. Carvelle, I'm coming to you after the break. We're going to talk about what